Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today kind of springs from, perhaps you've heard it, Ding Dong, the Wicked Witch is Dead. Well, the title today is Ding Dong, the Wicked Dollar is Dead. Now, you know, we Americans don't want to think that our nation is wicked, and we don't want to think that our dollar is wicked, but that's what God says. So much so that Vicky Parnell was told that Jesus has divorced our nation. If that's true, and I probably think it is, then we can expect to see all kinds of bad things happen to our nation. And like we've already been saying for the last 2 years, we've never seen this happen. We've never seen this happen. This never happened before. Well, those kind of things are about to happen, and they're about to be mostly all bad, sad to say. Now, let me do a quick refresher. As you recall, I now have 11. This is updated. Matter of fact, no, it's not updated because I got to change one more thing on it. Got 11 prophecies that says the dollar is going to fall. That's going to be the topic today. And for that, I'll send you to cornerstoneassetmetals.com because there is going to be a time when if you want to eat, you're going to have to be able to barter something. And gold and silver is still the best thing to do. We have 14 prophecies that say there's going to be a food shortage. And for that, I'll send you to josephkitchen.com. We have 17 prophecies says that a meteor tsunami is going to cause an earthquake. And again, I'll send you to josephkitchen.com, promo code Prophecy Club. Now, it says 32. Actually, I'm now up to 33 prophecies saying that there's going to be suitcase nukes. And for that, I'll send you to EMPShield.com. It's a little device about the size of 2 cigarette packs. You can put one on your home, one on your cars, and it takes about 10 minutes to install. They have videos show you how to do it. It's easy. Even I did it. And I'm not a mechanic. I'm not a handyman, but I did it to both my home and also to my cars. It took me about 10 minutes to each one of them. And we have 7 prophecies say that the Russians are going to hit America with a surprise nuclear attack and defeat us. And for that, I'll send you to get the book called God's Warnings to America at prophecyclub.com. These are the names backing up some of those prophecies. The 3 that see a meteor hitting are Surly, Breeden, and Rodriguez. The 17 that see an earthquake hitting are, and you can read those names, 7 more say that this meteor, this tsunami, this big earthquake that hits because we split Israel. So that's the thing to watch for. Also, we have a new place to send you. And I'm excited about this. I want to take just a second of your time and tell you about it. So with all these prophecies of the grid going down, and this guy had been a longtime supporter of Prophecy Club, and we'd kind of been talking. And so finally I got serious about getting a solar system. And I'm very excited to say I now have a solar system. And I have a real nice one. He set me up. He says, this is what you really want. You know, you can get this, you get it. I'm going to cover that in just a second. But this is what you really want. And it's even got an app on my phone. I don't have a nice, easy way to show you this app. I wish I did. Maybe I can in the future do some clips somehow and show you. But I'm gonna hold it up because this is live right now. And if you look at that, if you can see that, it says that I'm getting 11.3 from solar and 9.9. If I can get it where you can see it, 9.9 kilowatts is going to charge my battery. This is the battery below. So it has, I'm very excited about this, as you can tell, because, and I tested it, actually, I flipped off my grid, it turned on, my computer didn't even blink. The lights, I could tell, did blink, but my computer kept going. So I now have whole home backup. Now here's the cool part of it, is the cost. I know you're thinking, oh, boy, that's really expensive. That's what I thought, too. That's the reason I didn't even really look into it. I thought, I can't afford that. You know, I'm a minister. I can't afford that. But let me show you. Here's what I discovered. And if you're interested, you go to solarsurge.net. Solarsurge.net. Okay, so let me put it this way. If 10 is bad and 1 is good, I'm going to rate 9 is if you only have the normal grid electricity, you are very vulnerable. If you have just solar panels, you have a reduced electricity cost, but you really don't have any protection for the grid going down. It's not a backup. And then I rate this 5. If you have a solar plus a generator, that works as long as you have propane or natural gas to run the generator. It's not very efficient, but it'll back you up. And it's not backup in terms of if the grid goes down, your computers go down. And what I'm afraid of is I'm working on a PowerPoint or something like that, and it kills the computer and it corrupts my file. So I have to have battery backup, as probably most of you do. Then the next thing, which I also rate a 5, is solar plus battery. It's very efficient, but it's still not off-grid. And it is backup, at least the kind we would send you to, but it's not powerful enough for off-grid. Now, what I have is solar plus battery plus generator. That's off-grid, meaning off-grid means I can call the electric company if I want to. I'm not going to, because it's still good to have it. It's still the cheapest electricity out there. But I could call the electric company if I want to, say, turn my electricity off, and I could survive. Now, I think that my generator would probably have to turn on in days where there's no sun. Okay, if it's a cloudy day, it would probably have to turn on for about an hour. I haven't actually tested that, and here's what I found. My electricity runs about $585 a month, kind of expensive in the DFW area. That may be very, very cheap to some of you. I don't know, but I'm just telling you that's what my electricity runs. About $585 a month. The payment is $485. So that means this is my estimated cost. I just had it installed, so I don't know exactly what the number is going to be yet. But I estimate it cost me about $100 a month to be off grid, or if the grid goes down, I've still got electricity. If the grid goes down permanently, I've still got electricity. And I like that. And you can go to solarsurge.net and you can check all about it. And I like it. I'm very excited about it. Okay. So that took a lot of your time today. So let me get on to what we want to cover. As you recall, July 10, 2012, Shane Warren came to Prophecy Club, made a DVD. In this, he said that he saw a vision, that a satellite image of America, a storm covering from north, south, east, and west all across America. And he saw the anchor man pick up a fist of dollar bills and say, it's raining dollar bills. It's almost like they're worthless. Now, that's important because now that was, 11 years ago. Now here it is. I'm about to show you. It's in progress to happen. It could even happen this month. Then he also saw a New Madrid earthquake in the heartland of America. He heard a booming voice behind him say, they divided my land, meaning Israel, so I will divide their land. He's one of the people that said that. Then he saw the following nations. I'm not going to read all of them. These leaders were discussing how to crash or devalue the dollar by selling and buying oil in another currency, going around the dollar. Then he saw an internal revolution. The devaluing of the dollar caused major rioting in the streets, rioting in major cities, and signs that said, give us entitlements. Give us our entitlements. That's important. Then he said he saw incredible changes to the prices of currency. I saw gold, not silver, but I saw silver, but got it backwards. I got silver, not gold, but silver began to drastically increase in value. Not gold, but silver. And for that, again, I'll send you to Cornerstone, assetmetals.com. Call them, just talk to them, get an account set up, find out what all the procedure is to getting you some gold and silver. Then he saw riots break out, and he saw them holding up signs, give us our entitlements. He says, it was literally war. It was civil war. And I just read an article that said that 80% of America says that they believe that America is heading to a civil war. We are not the United States of America anymore. We are the divided states of America. And, of course, I don't have to tell you that. Then he saw churches become cities of refuge. Notice it didn't say people were told to run off into the woods or up into the mountains someplace. Cities of refuge. Several have seen the same thing. Cities of refuge. All of a sudden, the body of Christ stood up like a mighty sleeping giant in the earth and began to minister. Miracles returned to the church. People were coming to them, and I saw signs, wonders, and miracles poured out all over America America was shaken as the worldly couldn't go to the government for help anymore. They had to come back to the church. And I saw entire cities become cities of refuge. People were plunging into these cities because there was life, glory, and presence of God there, and there was revival. Now, I don't want the trouble. I want the revival. But you and I both know to get the revival, you got to have the trouble. So we don't want to be one that's not prepared. We don't want to be saying, well, just counting on God to protect me. Okay, we want to be one that's prepared. So when our neighbors come knocking on their door with pillows and blankets in their hand, because they see we're the only one in the neighborhood that'll have electricity, and then they discover we can feed them, we have food, we have water filters, which, by the way, you can get those at prophecyclub.com. And they say, how'd you know all this? Because I'm a Christian, and I listen to God's prophets, and I read God's Bible that has to talk about the Bible prophecies. Really? Can you explain to me? I'm so glad you asked. So let's get to the articles. Saudis confirm non-dollar oil trade plans in Davos. It's happening. Putin could unleash hell on the Western financial system by demanding that instead of dollars, Russian oil exporters are paid in gold, effectively pegging oil to gold and launching Petrogold, a new dollar system. China's President Xi visited Saudi Arabia, and the GCC leaders marked the birth of the petro-yuan and a leap in China's growing encumbrance of OPEC's plus oil and gas reserves. Now, we've had another prophecy that said that, I'm going to get to it here in just a second, but there's another one that says that China is going to kiss and make up and be buddy-buddy with Saudi Arabia, and so consequently, all of the gold will then be traded in yuan, as in Chinese currency, which crashes and kills the dollar. President Xi communicated his message on renminbi invoicing, not during the first day of his visit. In other words, when he arrived there, this wasn't set all up. But when he met only with the Saudi leadership, but during the second day of the visit, when he met the leadership of all the GCC countries, to signal the following, that the GCC oil flowing east plus renminbi invoicing and the dawn of the petro-yuan. What that's saying is China has made a deal with Saudi Arabia to start buying oil in yuan, not dollars. As you recall, back in the 1970s, it was required. Saudi said everybody got to buy oil only in the dollar. And in return, America was protecting them from their enemies. The article goes on to say Saudi Arabia is open to discussions about trade in currencies other than the U.S. dollar, according to the kingdom's finance minister. There are no issues with discussing how we settle our trade arrangements, whether it is in the U.S. dollar or whether it's in the euro. In other words, at this point, we're not necessarily totally and only linked to the dollar. That's what the prophecy said. As soon as they start selling oil in another dollar, or another currency other than the dollar's going to crash. We enjoy a very strategic relationship with China, and we enjoy that same strategic relationship with other nations, including the U.S. In other words, they want to be buddy-buddy with the U.S., but they are going to start selling crude oil in something other than a dollar. See, since 1973 or somewhere in there, if you wanted to buy oil from the Saudis, you had to buy it in dollars. That meant if you were using yuan or marks or something like that, you had to go and buy dollars and exchange it in dollars, and then you bought the oil in dollars. Headline, boom, Saudi Arabia announces end of the U.S. petrodollar. I'll read it again. This was given to Shane Warren back in 2010. He spoke to Prophecy Club in 2012. So actually, this prophecy is 13 years old, but here it is. It's now happening. So for the people that are telling you, oh, well, this stuff never comes to pass, well, you can tell them this came to pass. Okay, this is in the process. Saudi Arabia announces end of the U.S. petrodollar. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia announces that they officially are open to settling trade for oil and natural gas in currencies other than the U.S. dollar. That same thing the other article said. The Kingdom's finance minister says, Saudi riyal has been pegged to the U.S. dollar for decades while the Saudi oil exports continue to support the petrodollar system from the 1970s, in which the oil's top oil exporter prices its crude oil in U.S. dollars. However, Saudi Arabia is willing to deepen its strategic cooperation in oil and trade with China, the world's largest crude oil importer. Last month, China and Saudi Arabia agreed to expand crude oil trade as they upgraded the relations to strategic partnership during the visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping to the Saudi capital, Riyadh. China, for its part, plans to make its own currency, the yuan, more prominent in international oil trade. What did they just say? We are going to make the yuan. In other words, if the United States wants to buy oil from Saudi Arabia and the President JB just went over there trying to get them to sell us more oil and to lower their price in oil, and they basically showed him the door. But if we want to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, we would then have to take dollars, buy yuan, and then buy crude oil. That's what the world's having to be doing for the last, since 1970 or whatever, there was 73. But now a dollar's been removed. Okay, these are the kind of things, since Jesus has now given us a bill of divorcement. It's hard to believe, hard to say, but apparently it's happened. So now we're going to expect to see these kind of things happening in our nation all the time. During a visit to Saudi Arabia last month, Xi Jinping pledged to ramp up efforts to promote the use of yuan in energy deals, suggesting at a summit in the Saudi Arabia capital at the Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC, countries could make full use of the Shanghai Petroleum and Natural Gas Exchange to carry out its trade settlements in yuan. What are they saying? They're saying we're switching from the dollar to the Chinese yuan. That's going to crash the dollar. Let me say it again. That's going to crash the dollar. Next headline, treaties being canceled. President Vladimir Putin this morning transmitted to the State Duma, that's their Congress, a bill to terminate all treaties between the Russian Federation and the Council of Europe. What's he doing? He is cutting off relations between Russia and Europe. That's one of the things that happens just before a war. You remember some of the prophecies that said, now what is coming is war, war, war? Here it is. Remember, I've been saying I'm not totally convinced that we're in the tribulation yet, because I think what I'm watching for is I want to see that the white horse, war, and the red horse, which is war, I want to see a war. And if Emmanuel Macron turns up to be the Antichrist, according to Daniel chapter 7, we would see him go over and attack some of the other European nations. So when we see a bigger war, and I'm not talking about just Russia and Ukraine, I'll start thinking maybe we are in the tribulation. But if France goes over and attacks one of the other European nations to take it over, I say, no question, that's it. That's one of the big signs. That's what I've been looking for. We are now in the tribulation. I think I'm watching for a big war, a big one. When I see that, then I'll believe the white horse is riding, the red horse is riding. The Council of Europe is an international organization founded in the wake of World War II to uphold human rights, democracy, and the rule of law in Europe. Founded in 1949, it has 46 member states with a population of approximately 675 million. It operates with an annual budget of approximately 500 million euros. It means diplomacy is coming to an end between Russia and Europe. What comes next? Well, I can tell you what comes next. What comes next? When nations stop talking, when they stop their communications, what comes next is war. So if we are in the tribulation, we can expect this war to happen. We can sit there and watch prophecy being fulfilled. Covert intel says Russia is having a general mobilization. So, what's a general mobilization? It's a call up of all of the young men that are of military age. Russia is building up its military. Okay, so try to imagine if America were to call all young men and women, 18 years up to what, probably 25 years, something like that, from 18 years older, maybe even going to 17 or 16, call them all up. You have to report for duty. That's what this is. This is calling them up to report for duty. What if that were to happen right now in America? Everybody's what? What's going on? Why would we do this? Obviously, Russia is planning a very big war, just like the White Horse and the Red Horse would do. Covert intelligence sources, multiple of them, are now confirming that Germany's potential decision to send tanks for Ukraine to utilize against Russia would trigger an unimaginable response by Russia. In other words, they're saying you send tanks to Ukraine. If one of those tanks roll onto Russian territory, they're drawing a line in the sand. That's what this article is saying. They're drawing a line in the sand. They're saying you send tanks to Ukraine that roll into Russia, and we will declare war. Now, right now, it's not a war. No one's declared war. This is a military operation, unquote. But war would probably mean nuclear weapons, advanced technology, and it would involve NATO, which would then involve America. So this, as we said, was February 22nd of 2022. We all agreed World War III has started. And according to the prophecies in the Bible, it does not stop. And according to what Dmitry Duduman was told, it does not stop until Jesus returns on the white horse with the morning star to defeat the armies of the earth. So Armageddon has been going on for almost a year now. It hasn't reached that point, but it's heading in that direction. Let's go on. The decision will be formally announced at the NATO War Council. Notice the name or the word war. War Council meeting at Ramstein Air Base in Germany later this week on January the 20th. According to intelligence sources inside Russia, Lieutenant General Andrei Grulev told President Vladimir Putin, as soon as German tanks appear on, are you listening? As soon as German tanks, are you getting this? As soon as German tanks appear on Russian territory, Russia will have no choice but to announce a general mobilization. Okay, here's the rest of that sentence. To announce a general mobilization and declare war. A general went on to tell President Putin, German tanks is a clear violation of World War II demilitarization pacts. Putin allegedly responded to the general by saying, German tanks entered Russian territory once before, and it cost Russia 27 million dead. Basically, they're saying, and it's not going to happen again. I think that history will record what started this war was not Russia. I don't even think it's Ukraine. I mean, well, I guess you'd have to say it. Okay. But at the end of the day, it's going to be America. Okay, let's go on. Top Russian security official calls for warship deployment. Warship? There you go. There's that word again. Warship deployment to American coast. Last week, the U.S. Embassy in Russia released it in video and called it an appeal to the people of Russia. Throughout history, our countries have been united in a common culture and our achievements. This is America talking. We believe that what is happening is not worthy of you, and we stand in solidarity with each of you who strive to create a more peaceful future, according to Twitter. What's it saying? In a fiery response, Russia announced that the Admiral Gorshov warship will conduct a voyage, now get a load of this, through the Atlantic and Indian Oceans and the Mediterranean Sea. In other words, it's going right by the people it would attack. They are sending a shot across our bow. They are, okay, let's go back to our analogy of a couple of guys behind the high school and the crowd has gathered around, and the two people say they're going to fight. What would be some of the first things they would do if they really didn't want to fight? They wouldn't be doubling up their fists. Russia's doubling up their fists. If they didn't want to fight, they wouldn't be kicking sand on the feet of the other people. Russia's kicking sand. And in this case, NATO's doubling up their fists. NATO's kicking sand. These are fighting words. This is what you see just before a war. Matter of fact, less than this has started wars in the past. We'll conduct a voyage through the Atlantic and Indian Oceans and the Mediterranean Sea. Russia has said that the ship is armed with Zircon hypersonic cruise missiles, which we can't shoot down. One of Russia's most advanced weapon systems. Medvedev, that's the former president, wrote the State Department published an unctuous appeal to the people of Russia. Like we love you all, it ends in their typical nasty Jesuit style. In solidarity with each of you, we strive to create a more peaceful future. And the war in Ukraine, they say, is unworthy of anyone like that. The main gift for the new year with ammunition load of the Zircon missiles went yesterday to the shores of the NATO countries. 1,000-kilometer range of their use with hypersonic Mach 9 and the ability to use in any charge with a guarantee overcome any missile defense. Let it stand somewhere between 100 miles of the coast closer to the... Okay, so what are they saying? They're saying you can't shoot down our missiles. We know it, whether you know it or not. You can't stop us. We can land a nuclear weapon in your front doorstep, America, anytime we want to, and you can't stop it. And you're kicking sand on our feet? You're doubling up your fists at us? Yep, we are. We're sending people over to fight via Ukraine right now. You and your henchmen who kill our people, talking to America, will never be forgotten. We will speak to you in the language of power if you don't understand any other way. In other words, if you can't, like there's an old saying among men, if we can't get along, we can get it on. And that's what they're saying. Russia is saying to America, if we can't get along, we can get it on. If we can't get along, I'm going to take you out. That's what they're saying. Any produce, even more modern weapons, to thresh them with the Nazi carrion, that you gave birth to the 21st century. Revenge, every criminal for every murdered citizen of our country. They're saying, we're going to take you out. We aren't listening. The angel that spoke to Dmitri said the fall of America would start with an internal revolution in America, started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and two of the countries will attack and defeat America in one day, in 1 hour, so great riches will come to naught. This is very close to that happening. Remember, March 25th of 2022, Chris Reed saw a vision of an angel standing in front of him with a $50 bill and tore off 1/3 of it. And it's saying that the dollar is going to lose 1/3 of its value. That could happen in the next month or so. The first 1/3 of the year, first quarter of the year, highly likely. Then it goes on to say the U.S. dollar drops 30% in value. Middle Eastern oil, that's just what we read. Middle Eastern oil strikes a deal with China instead of the U.S. That's exactly what we just read in the article. They're doing that. This was, of course, we knew this back in 2010 from Shane Warren. But here it is another guy now saying it in 2022. The perfect storm, subtitle is Inflation Reaches a New High. You can count on it. Your dollar that you have in your bank is going to buy less very soon, which is why I'd recommend you go to cornerstoneassetmetals.com. Go there, start talking. Call them. Say, okay, what do we got to do? Call them. cornerstoneassetmetals.com. Let me go on, though. Next headline he saw was food shortage crisis as wheat and bread imports are at a stalemate. That is saying it's another, what is this, the 14th or 15th person that said we're going to have a food crisis? Specifically, wheat. Wheat is going to become in short supply. And right now, Joseph Kitchen has plenty of it, but you better order it now. I mean, I'm telling you, I would highly recommend you go to Joseph Kitchen. Go there. You need to get a bread or the machine package. That's all of the mechanical you need to make the bread. In other words, and then you decide how much food you want to have. Food for 2 people a year, 4 people a year, 6 people 1 year. And then they'll send you these wheat in 7-gallon pails, 50 pounds each. And then there's a recipe, and you put 4 cups of the wheat into the grinder, which 30 seconds turns it into flour. You put that in the bread machine, push a button, 2 hours, 20 minutes later, you have a nice hot loaf of whole wheat bread, along with 5 other ingredients, I think it is. But I'm still not up to my point. Let me read on. Then the angel had a $50 bill and tore it in half, meaning then the value of the dollar drops to 50%. So try to imagine all of the money in your bank accounts goes to 50% value. But the problem is the gasoline goes up. So that means it buys half what it was before. Now let's go on. Then he saw headlines, riots and civil unrest as citizens demand entitlement checks. Demand entitlement. That's the same wording that Shane Warren was told all the way back in 2010. We got to listen to this. Then an earthquake happened under his feet. So he's saying that when the dollar hits about 50%, and when America is in civil unrest, that's when we go over and split Israel. That's when a meteor hits. That's when, that meteor hits, and America's done for. It's not totally gone, but it's pretty much gone. And that's confirmed by the next 2 headlines. Israel and Palestinian two-state solution reached. In other words, we split Israel. Major earthquake hits the middle of the U.S. because we split Israel. See, the Bible says in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let a thing be established. When you have so many prophecies lining up that are all saying the same thing. Look, I'm pretty sure that Shane Warren has not called Chris Reed and said, hey, here's what God told me. Here's what I want you to say. My guess is they don't even know each other. My guess is they've never even talked. They probably don't even know about each other's ministries. Prophecy Club just happens to be in the middle to where we get this sort of stuff and bring it to you. But now, I still hadn't made my point. Then America in Pieces, subtitle, More States Secede from the Nation in Rebellion to the Federal Government. Well, why would we rebel to the federal government? Because I tell you why, Texas, Arizona, and California getting tired of all the bad people flowing into our nation. So why is that happening? Because God is saying, okay, you don't want to be a Christian nation, so I'm going to fill you with caterpillars with men, just like it says in, I think, Jeremiah 51. So I'm going to stop there, but I'm going to recommend you go to Joseph Kitchen, EMPShield.com, CornerstoneAssetMetals.com, and now I'm going to send you to SolarSurge.net. SolarSurge.net. Go, call them. Start talking to them. Get yourself prepared. Get yourself prepared. You want to be able to minister, not just try to survive in the trouble ahead. Terry Saka of CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. Why should someone go online or call you today?
The time to try to control inflation is over. We have printed the currency so into oblivion that the only way we can get out of the massive debt that we have is to continue to print and inflate that debt away. While they're doing that, the best way to protect and preserve our wealth we've been given is by gold and silver.
Gold and silver is God's money.
Amen.
Call Terry Saka at CornerstoneAssetMetals.com, 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 and find out how to get some of it.
I'm Leslie, owner and founder of Joseph's Kitchen, and I want to show you how to make healthy, homemade, whole wheat bread for only a few $100s a year.
At Joseph's Kitchen, our ingredients have been packaged for immediate use or long-term storage. Go to josephskitchen.com or call the number on your screen to order today. Don't get caught unprepared. Go to josephskitchen.com now.
Next is I'll send you to EMPShield.com. If you use the promo word prophecy, you get a $50 discount. What is that? Well, it looks like this. This is the one that goes into a car, okay? And you put the red wire to the red side of the battery, you put the black wire to the black side of the battery, and the green one attaches to the body of the car. Then you peel it off right back here. Just peel that off, stick it inside of the engine compartment of your car. And the whole point is when the electricity goes off or when some kind of a suitcase or nuclear device goes off, this is supposed to be able to stop that device from destroying every computer chip in your car. Because if every computer chip is destroyed in your car these days, you couldn't possibly replace them. Throw the car away. So, EMPShield.com, promo code PROPHECY.